Uh, I said my name is Jamiu Okanlawon, and good afternoon, everyone. I should start from there. Today I'll be talking about that on the server, unlocking full stack potential, and I'll try to run through this as quickly as possible. Next slide. So if you like to follow along with this talk, you can visit the link tinyurl slash that on the server. Basically, that's the written version of this. Next. So when we hear about that, something comes to mind, right? And what's that? Flutter, right? So you'll be wondering that why are we talking about that on the server when that we know is usually for Flutter? So thinking about that as just a language for Flutter will actually make you miss out on other offerings that brings. And that's actually that on the server. We are going to look at how that can help you both in Flutter, right, and also transition to the server and even other clients like the web frontend. Next slide, please. First, what's that for people who don't know that? I think sometime last year or last 2 years or 3 years ago, that was defined as a client-optimized language, which some of us don't like. I mean, client-optimized language means that it can only be used for Flutter and so on, right? But checking recently, I saw a definition that I really like, and they defined it as an approachable, portable, and a productive language for high-quality apps on any platform. What does that mean for you building mobile apps or even apps on the server? First is type and null safety. I know JavaScript developers cannot relate to this, right? So you are able to catch errors before you ship. You don't get a call from your PM or from your users at 3 a.m. that your app has broken or something in production. Then the next 2 points are actually based on a win that brings by default. And I think for that developers, you will know something called JIT and AOT. So in that, you have something called the just-in-time compiler and the ahead-of-time compiler. Just-in-time that helps you be productive during development. And ahead-of-time compiler that helps you be productive online, like when your app is actually shipped, basically. So you have startup really fast and you have low memory footprint, basically. And the last is you have safe concurrency. So the way that undoes parallelism is using isolates, right? And what that means is that isolates actually run concurrent tasks and they don't share memory. The advantage it brings to you is you can run as many concurrent tasks as possible without worrying about race conditions that you would in other languages or deadlocks, basically. Next slide. So why are we talking about that on the server when we have Go, JavaScript, and so on and so forth? So the reason why we are talking about it is having a true full stack solution, basically. So what if you can have a single code for your entire company, basically, where you have like a package where you share your models, configuration, and so on. You have a desktop app, your backend, your front end, your web app, your landing page, everything, entire thing, all written in that, right? So I think that is only possible in that and a couple of other languages, JavaScript, but without the type safety, right? Next slide, please. Interesting. This is not clear. So for JavaScript developers, you might wonder, or from developers coming from another language, you might think, how should I? Can you guys see? Is there a possibility of zooming? Okay. Yeah. So for a JavaScript developer or a developer coming from another framework, you might think, am I not going to learn a new bunch of ways of building APIs or building backends? You don't need to. The concept is actually the same. The only thing you need to learn, of course, is that the language. This is a standard Express server, and this is a Dart server, right? A default app.js and app.dat. You will notice that we are importing the Express package, and here we are importing Shelf. Here we are defining the app. Over there we are defining the app as well. The ports, almost the same way. We define the route, we define the route over there, the same, and we listen to the server. It might be different, like the syntax might look a little bit different, but you are doing the same thing. So you can literally come as a TypeScript developer and start writing that like right away. All right, so now we touched a little bit of the back end. How about the front end? Next, please. For people who knows like the Flutter ecosystem as well, you will say, Flutter is not a true web framework, right? Because you can't do SEO, you can't do this, you can't do that, right? And you can't use it for content every website. Jasper is actually the solution. Wow. So Jasper is a modern web framework that behaves like React. I wouldn't say it looks like React. This doesn't look the same. But yeah, it behaves like React. What that means is everything you write in Jasper compiles down to HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and that, of course. No Canvas. Right? No canvas rendering. Everything goes back to that. And the syntax looks a little bit like Flutter, right? But at the end of the day, you are writing HTML, as you can see, H1. You will still be writing your H1, H2, div, and so on and so forth. And if you look at the methods, they are a little bit similar. If you change this to a class definition in React, you will see that there are some things you can match together. But I have to say that Jasper is a little bit verbose, right? You can see you have to define H1, then text in the H1, right? But as you use it, you are going to get really used to it. And mind you, you don't have to worry about performance and all. It is very, very fast. I've seen it in production. I've measured the performance, and it behaves as good as React. Next slide. So, maybe you are convinced, maybe you are not. What if you want to explore that on the back end? The easiest way, well, maybe not the easiest way, the way to do it by default is by using the .io library. So in Node.js, we have like something similar where you just use you import the HTTP and you do everything from scratch. So in that, you can also import the .io library and do it from scratch. But you have to write a lot of if and else statements. If the route is product and it is get, you have to do this and you have to do a lot of things. And that's why we have all of these options here. We have Shelf, which I showed you earlier, which looks a lot like Express, basically. You do almost the same thing. Get, post, put, delete, middlewares, they are all defined the same way. You have that frog, which is my favorite. That frog uses the file system. So you define your route in the file, basically. And it's very fast. It's good. It's very great for APIs. And if you attended Sam's talk yesterday, he actually went in detail on how to use that frog and how to do server-side rendering with that frog. And that's another thing, right? You can even do server-side rendering in that. And lastly, we have Serverpod. Serverpod is the full stack solution for Flutter engineers. If you want to build full stack without worrying about anything, database, the deployment, everything is there, basically. Like it has everything all together. Authentication. What can I compare it to in other languages? Maybe like Django. Yeah. So it has everything, basically. It comes with its own DB setup, inside server, and so on and so forth. So it even comes with its own ORM. But the limitation is that it is only for Flutter engineers at the moment. So it defines the server, the mobile app, and also the clients to interact between the mobile the server. Next. So, who is using that on the server? This is the question that I get all the time when I talk about that on the server. People will start saying, can I use this app in production? If you can build with it, then you can ship, right? So Google actually uses that, and the pub.dev that you all use. Have pub.dev failed you as a data engineer?
Maybe MTN.
Well, MTN, that's MTN's issue, right? But then, pub.dev was actually built with that on the server, and some other services at Google were also built with that on the server. For the backend side, we have MyOps Notes built with Serverpod, built with that for Moral.technologies built with Serverpod. Look.org, for people who have seen it, built with Flutterweb and that on the server. And we have the front end, Jasper, right? CompileCamp, Translocal, Flutter Edmonton, Flutter Restars, they were all built with Jasper. And just to, if I'm lying, or if you think I'm just, just go to CompileCamp, try to measure the performance. Just try to see for yourself. And you will notice that it is really, really fast, right? And then we have reflection.app for the Flutter web use case, basically. Okay, next. So you have built, how do you deploy, right? That compiles to a single self-contained executable that is perfect for any platform that supports Docker. So you can bundle it in a container and ship it to Google App, Cloud Run, AWS App Runner, DigitalOcean, any platform that supports Docker at all, right? And yeah, next slide. But if you don't want to use all of this because of like provisioning, a lot of stuff, and let me sell to you, right? We have globe.dev, which is actually a platform built specifically for Flutter and data engineers, basically. So you can ship both Flutter web apps or your Flutter web backend, and it handles, since all the commands you would have written, right, like for deployment, setting up, CI/CD, it actually handles everything for you automatically. You can give it a try with your Flutter web app because that's the easiest way to transition. And for a backend person, just create a simple shell project and try to ship. So next, please. So let's talk the truth, right? The questions people should be asking about, and that's the challenges, right? The ecosystem is actually young. So that's like, the ecosystem is young. So there are some libraries you would want to use or you would really like, but you won't find yet, right? And while that is the challenge, that's also the opportunity, basically, because you get to shape, it is growing, so you get to shape the kind of packages, the kind of products that are being built. And that's what companies like VGV are doing with DartFrog. That's what we are doing at Invertase with Globe and Globe Runtime and so on. And yeah, we built Globe Runtime as well, which you can use to call TypeScript libraries in that. So if you are using, if you like a package in TypeScript, basically, and you want to bring it to that, we have built something for that. You don't need to port the entire library. Maybe you like an ORM. Imagine building an ORM in that. You have to first learn code generation and do a bunch of stuff. But you can actually do it simply with Globe Runtime. So, takeaways, or what have we been talking about? First thing I wanted to mention is that is a full stack solution, and it allows you to truly share code within the server, the front end, your web app, your desktop app, and so on. It is easy and familiar to transition for people doing JavaScript, TypeScript, Python, or if you are working with any modern framework at the moment. And yes, it is production ready. you can use it in production. And these are the resources for getting started. I wrote that backend handbook with Shelf, which you can check. It follows a documentation pattern, and you can learn step by step. We also have a lot of guides on that backend at Globe. You have the Dartfrog docs, the Sourpod docs, and the Jasper docs, in case you are interested. And thank you.